Hu Tao, the 77th director of the Wangsheng Pharaoh Parlor, who creeps you out by wanting you to quickly be in life support so that she can sell her coffins. It's a pyro main DPS that deals pyro damage on field, that can deal huge damage with her skill and burst. And yes, I mean huge. Actually huge. Like my PP. Anyways, in this video I'll be covering Hu Tao's kit, talents and leveling prioritizations, constellations, artifact builds, recommended weapons, recommended team comms, and how to play Hu Tao. I already made a guide on Child if you pulled for him during the previous banner, so do check it out if you're interested. Timecodes are in the description, so do skip ahead on which info you would like to look on. Anyways, my name is PP and welcome to a Genshin Impact guide video. Now let's talk about how Hu Tao works. As the director of a coffin shop, her elemental skill, Guide to Afterlife, increases her base attack depending on her max HP, but she drains 30% of her current HP every time she uses it. But do note that her attack bonus can't exceed 400% of her own base attack. After using the elemental skill, she'll be dealing pyro damage with her normal and charge attacks, and she will be in an on-field DPS state for around 9 seconds. Then after that, we'll have a 6-second cooldown to trigger the skill again. Note that if she charge attacks, she will apply something called a Blood Blossom. Blood Blossom is like a sticker to enemies that can deal pyro damage every 4 seconds. And also another note, during the duration of Hu Tao's elemental skill, do not switch her out because the skill will be unavailable after she is off field. Hu Tao's elemental burst, Spirit Soother, lets her deal a massive amount of AoE pyro damage to surrounding enemies. While dealing damage, she also regenerates a percentage of her HP, and this is based on the numbers of enemies she hits with her burst. The more enemies she hit, the more HP she regenerates. So for talent leveling prioritization, her elemental skill and auto attacks, as you'll be on field using Hu Tao a lot for normal and charge attacks while in her elemental skill state, and then her burst. Now if you see most Hu Tao gameplays, you might be wondering, why does Hu Tao has like 25k HP but always needs to be in life support every time she is on field? Well, this is due to her passive talent, life support mode. I don't know how to pronounce that shit. When Hu Tao's current HP is equal to or below than 50%, she gains an additional 33% pyro damage bonus. So in conclusion, basically less HP more damage, and less HP means more healing when using burst. Another useful passive that Hu Tao has is Flutterby, which gives the characters in your party except Hu Tao an extra 12% crit rate for 8 seconds after Hu Tao's elemental skill ends. This makes Hu Tao really useful off and on field, as she is benefiting something while you wait for her cooldown to be back up again. And last passive, if you use Hu Tao to cook, she has an 18% chance to give you something sus. Imposter. Constellations. C1. When Hu Tao is in her elemental skill state, her charge attacks won't consume any amount of stamina. C2. Increases the Blood Blossom sticker's damage that is equal to 10% of Hu Tao's max HP, and using her burst will now apply the sticker as well. C3. Increases elemental skill talent by 3 levels. C4. After defeating an enemy that has a sticker, every character in the party except for Hu Tao will gain an additional 12% crit rate for 15 seconds. C5. Increases burst talent by 3 levels. C6. This constellation will trigger when Hu Tao is at or below 25% HP. 1. She will not die as soon as possible, where she has at least 1 HP left to survive. 2. Her elemental and physical resistance is increased by 200% for the next 10 seconds. 3. Her crit rate will also increase by 100% for the next 10 seconds. But yeah, she has to be at 1 HP left for this to trigger, and can only be triggered every 60 seconds. Summary to her cons. C1 is basically her best one yet, as it's for easier gameplay. C4 for team support capability, and C2, C3 and C5 for additional DPS, and C6 is basically to make her broken. I would suggest just go for C1 and stop there if you have some primos to spare. But if you're just a big fat whale who has the income to do so, yes, just keep pulling. But do note that it might cost you a lot of coffins to buy for the C6 director. Get it? Coffin for these artifact builds. For pre-AR 45 players, 3-star options would be 2-piece Resolution or 2-piece Braveheart for extra attack, or 2-piece Martial Artist for extra normal and charge attack damage, and a 4-piece for the extra damage after using elemental skill. For endgame players, 4-piece Crimson being the best set for Hu Tao, as the 4-piece gives you extra reaction damage and the 2-piece grants you extra pyro damage bonus. 4-piece Shimenawa is also good for Hu Tao as the domain is resin efficient to farm, and the 4-piece grants you extra 50% normal and charge attack damage for 10 seconds after using the elemental skill. But people always been debating on which set is the best for Hu Tao. Is it Shimenawa or Crimson? Well, for raw pyro damage, the Shimenawa beats Crimson by a small percentage. But for elemental reactions, the 4-piece Crimson is still the best option. A 2-piece Shimenawa and a 2-piece Crimson is also viable if you don't have a 4-piece set at the moment. And another build that will also be OP on Hu Tao is a 2-piece Crimson and a 2-piece Wondrous. This set piece is recommended for a high elemental reaction build Hu Tao, which is heavily focused on Vaporize and Melt comms. But as for raw pyro damage wise, yes, it is the weakest. And yes, I am currently running that build. Why? Because I can't be bothered to be farming for the Crimson Bitch of Pain. For Sans, HP percentage as her damage and attack bonus scales off her HP. For Goblet, pyro damage bonus for extra elemental damage. For Circlet, crit rate or crit damage depending on what you need. Recommended weapons. For 5-star options, the Staff of Homer, or some people call it the Staff of Homeless, which is literally the best weapon for every Polam character in the game. Yes, every Polam character, because of the crit damage that it offers, and the passive makes it literally made for Hu Tao. Additional HP and extra attack from a percentage of the character's max HP, plus an additional attack bonus if the character holding the weapon is under 50% HP. Jade Spear, high base attack while giving crit rate as a secondary stat, and the passive which gives bonus attack depending on how many stacks you have, and also available on the standard banner, but luck is needed to get this weapon. Vortex Vanquisher, attack as the secondary stat, and the passive is nice if you pair the user with a shield character in your party. For 4-star options, Deathmatch for easier crit builds but does cost you the battle pass. Lithic Spear for extra attack and extra crit rate if you have a full party of Lier characters. Or one of Hu Tao's best in slot for elemental reaction builds is the Dragon's Bane. Low base attack but a good amount of elemental mastery, and great passive as you deal more damage to enemies affected by Hydro or Pyro. The only downside to Dragon's Bane is that you need to heavily rely on artifacts for good crit ratios. Other than that, an R5 Dragon's Bane can actually rival the R1 Homa in terms of elemental damage, but not raw pyro damage. For free-to-play options, Black Cliff Pole for easier crit builds, but it does cost you your Star Glitter. The Craftable Cross Spear, not recommended since it does give you energy issues, but it is an option as it still increases elemental skill damage and gives elemental mastery as the secondary substat, but still not recommended. And for 3-star options, the White Tassel for easier crit builds and increases normal attack damage, and easy to fully refine. The Halberd for extra attack, and the Black Tassel for extra HP. Nah, I'm just joking, don't use the Black Tassel. The white one is better. I'm sorry, I swear I'm not racist. Recommended team comms. Hu Tao is always, and I say always, paired with Xingqiu, especially if you're running a Dragon's Bane high elemental mastery build Hu Tao. If you don't have Xingqiu, you can still run Kaya or Rosaria. For other supports, you can run any animal character such as Kazuha, Sucrose, or even Venti, as they can shred enemies' elemental resistance with the 4-piece Verdescent set and by swirling enemies. And for the last slot, a character that grants you a shield is always great, such as Diona or Zhongli. Example team comps for Hu Tao are Xingqiu Hu Tao together with Kazuha Diona, or Zhongli Albedo, or Rosaria Diona, and more. Note, try not to use Diona's burst when Hu Tao is next on field, as you want Hu Tao to deal more damage by being in life support. And Jin is also not viable as her burst heals all the party so much to the point that Hu Tao is never gonna be under 50% of her current HP. I have already made a guide on Jin, so do check it out if you're interested. So how do you play Hu Tao? If you have C0, Easiest way is to just normal attack 4 times, then followed by a charge attack. A more advanced way is to charge attack then jump to cancel the animation, and most players will call this the Hu Tao charge and jump cancel. If you have C1, you can just charge attack followed by a dash, which we call Hu Tao charge spam or Hu Tao charge dash cancel. My advice, if you don't have a good weapon ready for Hu Tao and no Xingqiu in the team, I would suggest skipping this banner. When looking at the kit, Hu Tao is a broken unit overall, but needs a high level of investment to get her at least 70% damage potential. I would say without a crit based weapon, building Hu Tao's ratio will be quite difficult. And farming for a 4-piece Crimson is also a pain. But if you are ready in terms of everything, I will say she is worth pulling, and she may be paired well with Thoma. We still don't know if Thoma would be great paired with her, so I will be making a video about Thoma as soon as he is out, so do stay tuned. Thanks for watching this video. If you find this video helpful in any way, do drop a like, subscribe to see more vids like this, and comment on what other videos you would like to see. And remember, they have to pee.